Ladies and gentlemen, all rise. Court is back in session. Welcome to an extremely exciting episode of The Devil's Due. I am your host, Carl Duty. With me, as always, is the man who now knows the answer to the question, who's your daddy? Mr. Drew Celestino.
I mean, I know mine.
I know some of that answer.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Mostly well rested.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna switch it up this week. I think I will go first in the "How was your weeks" section, since the "How was your weeks" section, that's a buried lead here, folks.
It's going to be very one-sided.
Probably gonna take up a good chunk of the show.
Yeah, well,
It's
we'll see.
entirely possible, because I got a lot of stuff, but Drew's stuff is heavier. Heavy. Always saying heavy. Is something wrong with Earth's gravitational pull in the future? So,
hang on. So, opening statements.
you're all thrown off.
Checks notes. Carl, how was your week?
It was good, Drew. Okay, so it's been 2
There it is.
weeks.
It's over.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since we've been here and been doing this. So going back 2 weeks, we had game night Friday night 2 weeks ago. Friday, we played.
I trust you that we did, because I don't remember.
We played Unearth. Do you remember
Yes,
now?
we did. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Mostly, maybe. I don't know, man. You got to walk me through this.
We played Unearth. I believe, Gen 1.
That sounds right.
Yeah, she scored a lot of points. But it was the second time we have played that game. I've played it. I've been playing it a lot lately. The second time we played that game, and your kind of first fully attentive playthrough of it. Do you remember any thoughts you may have had on it?
It's a good game. That's about all I remember. I remember thinking that was a very good game that, I don't know. You said basically like it does a lot of things okay, but nothing exceptional.
That's Clank.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember then.
Okay.
I remember thinking it was a good game. That's about it.
Yeah. And then you and I played some Fire Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
To which we will get to your review in your weeks.
Okay.
And then Saturday night, I got together with my friend Adam, and we had a little bit of a game night. We played Tiny Epic Western. The first time I got to play my copy, which I got back in Christmas, so I've now finally played all the board games I got for Christmas. Love that game. It's
September.
Yeah. It's currently my favorite of the Tiny Epic series.
Okay.
So that was real good. Then we played a new game, at least to me, and Adam hadn't played it. Our friend Corey brought it over. There's a game called Bunny Kingdom.
Bunny Kingdom?
Bunny Kingdom. And this is
Okay.
a game of essentially like worker placement kingdom building with bunnies. And it was...
So Hugh Hefner is not involved?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
It was really good. It was really like enjoyable and kind of figuring out the game, and it's potentially a pickup for me. I really enjoyed it. I might want to play it one more time before I make that decision.
How do you make more worker bunnies?
Practice.
Is there a mechanic for that?
No, you have a fixed number at the beginning of the game.
Seems a little... There's no truth in this argument.
So, also that Saturday, was it Saturday? Saturday or Sunday? 1, 2. I got to play my first two games of X-Wing 2.0.
So what's your verdict?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
It was great. It just like I played with one list that I didn't think was going to be very good, but I just wanted to try out some of the mechanics, and it turned out the list I think with some tinkering could be really good. And I played with another list I thought would be a little more competitive, and that one I just didn't fly right, and kind of a hot mess. But yeah, it was good. It was very enjoyable. The mechanics are smooth, and they've ironed out a lot of the rough spots of the game by stuff they've eliminated from the game. It's more emphasis on dogfighting and positioning now, which has been, surprisingly enough, sorely lacking from the game for a long time. You'd think, and I could tell by the bewildered look on your face, wait a minute, this is a game about like dogfighting and positioning. And there had been like X-Wing, original X-Wing 1.0 is a good study on game evolution and game design and how you kind of can't in video games that we play now, if something has to get patched or fixed, it eliminates what was broken. In X-Wing, because stuff is printed on cards and you can't quite eliminate that, you just kind of put in a fix for what the problem was, but the problem still remains.
Right.
So whether or not the fix takes is something completely different. And it just got to a point where they were running out of design space. So now this new version, they've freed up a lot of design space for themselves. So I'm really interested to see where it goes in the future. Which is going to be this Thursday, is the official release of X-Wing 2.0. I was playing with a gentleman who was fortunate enough to have a friend at Gen Con who grabbed him some stuff because that's where they first started selling it. But the official launch is this Thursday. And ran into a bit of a problem. Didn't think I was going to be able to get my stuff.
Yeah,
because
I was going to ask about that.
One of the local shops, the local shops that a lot of us in the community get our X-Wing stuff from, and put on a lot of they were pretty much the one shop with a regular monthly tournament you can count on every month. They announced that they were pulling out of board games altogether. This shop does a lot of other stuff. And they canceled all of the X-Wing 2.0 pre-orders, mine included. So I was like, okay, less than a week before the game comes out, we've all got to scramble down and find a place where they're going to have it on day one.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, Collectors Inn, shout out to them, stepped up and upped their order of product to help to kind of fill the void left by the other shop. And really appreciate them doing that, because it was, for a moment there, it was looking like I was going to do a Rochester road trip in the morning to Millennium Games. Because the other shop that is going to have in the area is a shop called Dragon Snack, but they don't open till 3 p.m. I don't know. Bless you.
Pardon me. There's always two.
Bless you.
I warned you.
A master and an apprentice.
Yeah, something like that.
And to quote the immortal Mo Sizlak, or an exchange between Mo and Homer, this thing can flash fry a buffalo in 40 seconds. No, 40 seconds? I want it now. Sure, I could wait till 3 o'clock, but why would I wait till 3 o'clock when I can get it at 10 o'clock?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, work. What's that?
Oh, I already took the day off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Took the day off. This is more important than work, Drew. This is X-Wing.
You can fly. You're a pilot.
Dang Skippy, I can fly and pilot. So there was that. Let's see what else. Oh, for the first time since I was a teenager, since I was 15 years old, I have a bicycle now.
All right.
I bought myself a new bike because the wife loves to go bike riding. I'm like, you know what? This is something that I think we could really enjoy together. So I got a bike. It's kind of cool. I showed you the picture, right?
You did.
Yeah, it's kind of like a retro design
I like
bike, and it's all like matte black.
How many speed is it?
Good canvas. 7.
Okay.
Which really all I need. I'm not, She insisted I get a helmet.
You need a helmet.
And rode for plenty of years without a helmet before.
It only takes one time to regret.
But she's we're shopping for these helmets. She's showing me these different helmets. They're all the kind of ones like the slick, like arrow design and with the visor on. I'm like, I can't wear one of those. Who am I going to be kidding with one of those? I'm not the type of person.
You're overthinking this, man. You're just a dude on a bike.
But no, I just got a basic black, it's more akin to like a skateboarder helmet or something like that. So got a lot of room for stickers on it.
All right.
So there was that. And then we, that Monday, Labor Day Monday, we participated in the Buffalo Slow Roll, which is a 10-mile bike ride around Buffalo, and they do different locations every week. And at the end of it, you always end up where you started. At the end of it, there's always different food trucks there and whatnot, and it's like a nice little party.
Let's completely eliminate all the athletic activity that you've done in this bike ride by having the most awesome food trucks in town.
Well,
I know. It's a celebration.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. We've been doing a lot of bike riding since then. I'm really enjoying it. I think the only other thing I have is I recently finished watching, I stumbled across this documentary on Netflix called The Power of Grayskull. And it's a huge documentary about the He-Man phenomenon in the early 80s. And it's fantastic because they cover everything from the original creation of the toys up through like the collector toys that they're kind of making now. So like the toys, the cartoon series, the film, and they had like Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella are both in this documentary. And Frank Langella, I was very surprised to hear, loves that role.
He's great in it. He should love it.
He's like Oscar-worthy performance in a horrible film.
He should that should be on his demo reel forever.
Yeah,
because he's amazing in that movie.
And it was just like up through the 2001 reboot, which still to this day, looking back on it, I can't believe wasn't more successful than it was because it was fantastic. It seems like the only two 80s cartoons that have gotten reboots that the reboots haven't been absolutely amazing, if not better than the originals, are our two favorites, G.I. Joe and Transformers. Like, we can't get a good, solid, like, reboot of these brands in cartoon form.
Well, Transformers has had several iterations that are...
Yeah, but none of them are good.
They're still out. Kids must like them.
I don't care about kids.
Well...
I care about me.
Yeah.
What I like.
I hear you.
And G.I. Joe, the same. Renegades was okay. You never saw Renegades.
No, G.I. Joe is one of those things that I don't think is going to come back.
Yeah.
Dan Larson might disagree with us, but I as a concept, I feel like it's just not. It's a tough sell nowadays.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But
yeah, but like He-Man, Thundercats, Voltron, like all these reboots were better than the original.
Yeah, but they were also kind of done with care and refinement to cater to people like you and me.
Well, the Voltron one was the He-Man and Thundercats one. Both had short runs because the old thing, the toys didn't sell.
Right, but they were still constructed with the intent to market it to people like you and me. You know what I mean? So it had to be good. Like they figured out what we'd want now, and they did it.
I mean, for crying out loud, the second episode of the Thundercats reboot had me in tears at the end. It was so good.
Tears don't sell toys, Carl.
Yeah, I know. Actually, sometimes it does. You get the kid in the store crying enough for the toy.
Yeah.
God knows I pulled that card a lot.
Sure, tears work.
So tears can sell toys from time to time.
In the store, yeah.
So, that's all my stuff. Now let's get to your stuff. So I'm just going to run down, so you don't forget anything. I'm just going to run down an agenda where you might want to start and end up. Probably want to start with Fire Pro, then go to All In.
Oh God, yeah, I wasn't even going to talk about all that stuff. But
And no, this dude.
Yeah, you're
this
right.
is big stuff,
this
man.
This all happened in the course of 2
and
weeks.
then the unfortunateness, and then the joy that comes in the morning.
Well, pardon me while I get ready for all of that.
So Fire
Pro Wrestling came out. Fire Pro Wrestling World for the PlayStation 4. It's been on Steam for a while, but now it's on PlayStation 4. Finally came, and it's the first time that NJPW has included their roster in a video game. So pretty cool. As a game, it's fantastic. As a wrestling simulator, it's fantastic. Like, you have to pace matches accordingly. You can't spam finishes. You can't spam strong moves before you come up from weak and medium moves. You have to learn how to pace a match. And characters are customizable infinitely. Like, you can customize... You could make anyone you want, basically. Like, sure, only the NJPW roster is in there, but there's enough configurable parts in the game where I can make the whole WWE roster from, like, 1975 to current. Yeah. So, you know...
Which you don't really have to, because people already have.
Exactly. I can go online and just download them all.
Now, when we played Saturday night, we tried doing that, and the process seemed unclear.
It's a little clunky.
I'm guessing you've...
I have since figured it out, yes. Okay. It is not the easiest way to go, but it can be done. So it's just going to take some time to set up. But fortunately, I can download them in a batch. Like, I can go online and just pick all the ones I want to download.
Yeah.
And then when I reboot the PS4, it will grab them all and download them. But then I have to manually assign each wrestler into a faction and company.
Oh, okay.
That takes time. So it's unfortunate, but it's the way the game is, unfortunately. So it's fine. I only downloaded one guy so far. I got Pentagon Jr.
Yes.
And I assigned him to a promotion last night, and now he's in the game. So, yay.
So will you be doing the entire Lucha roster?
As many guys as I can find, yeah. And then I still have to get, like, the Young Bucks and Cody and Hangman Page, the guys that were not included from Bullet Club and stuff like that. And a couple other guys that are kind of outliers that I want to get into the game, and maybe some retroactive, Shinsuke Nakamura, since he's not in the game because he's not in NJPW anymore. And then I'll be careful about that because I don't want the current version that they have in WWE. I'm sure there's several versions online I can download. I want the King of Strong Style as I remember him in this game. So anyway, so it's a great game. If you're looking for big time flash and presentation, though, like. If you want it to look like real life, not the game for you.
No, if you grew up with, like, pro wrestling,
No Mercy and things like that, like the class,
the Super Nintendo WWF games.
I'd say even the N64 ones. Like, this is more like that. You have an isometric camera view; it doesn't change. It pans around, but it doesn't change angles or anything like that. The characters are made up of, like, several different sprites and not polygons, so you're not going to get dynamic camera work or anything like that. And that's where, someone that wants a little more flash is going to be disappointed. Entrances are pretty basic. So it's limited in that regard, but at the same time, the gameplay is awesome and fun. And especially once you understand it. It took me a little while to kind of get the feel for it, but now that I do, I'm getting pretty good, and I enjoy playing the game a lot. So, yeah, it's a great game.
Have you attempted an online match?
No. I'm still doing the mission stuff where there's like 30 some missions, and it's like tutorial meets. It's like a super tutorial. So you start off with just, here's how you do your basic strikes and grapples and whatnot. And then from there, you have little missions where, okay, win a match by submission, win a match by countout, win a battle royal, win a triple threat match, do this in the match, use your finish, win a match using your finisher, etc. So I think I've done like 15 or 16 of those. I'm not sure how many there are, but I'm just going to keep crushing through those and see how it goes. So it's a very cool game. I really enjoy it. And for $40, I think it's $40 on PS4, I'd recommend it. It's great. It's scratching the itch for a wrestling title for me that I haven't had a wrestling game in forever.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it in that regard. And then again, NJPW's in there. So, getting my Okada and Kenny fix, and ideally I'll try and get a campaign going where I can win the title with Ishii or with Minoru Suzuki or something like that, because that would be awesome if they ever actually got a run with the belt. But, in real life that might not happen. So, yeah, it's great.
I think having played it, its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. its greatest strength is that it is built from the ground up for hardcore wrestling fans.
More or less, yeah.
For people who want to craft their own federation or league or what have you, and the gameplay is extremely intricate within that philosophy. That being its greatest weakness, that if you are not a sold-out hardcore wrestling fan, you're not going to have as much enjoyment out of this game because it requires... The learning curve on this game is very steep.
Think of it like a fighting game in that you got to know what... There's an inherent learning... Yeah, like you said, a learning curve. You have to know how to play it. And it took me a little while to get to. But like I said, now that I've got it, like, okay, I got this.
Like I told you when I played it, like I was very frustrated with the hit detection on the strikes. Like that was easier. Like,
it's not so much the hit detection. It's just you have to know where you are on the plane.
Yeah,
and it's not, it's like if you were standing just to my left and I reached out with my right hand to punch you, I'm not going to hit you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think. I hope it does very well to kind of warrant more because I think it's a genre of game that just hasn't had enough service paid to it.
It's been dominated by WWE, games every year, and they frankly are not good. I mean, I'm sorry, but they're not. Yeah. Like, they're just not good. They've been built on the same engine for like 15 years, and it's just showing its age, and it's just not good.
Yeah. Okay, so Fire Pro on to All In.
All In was...
Which was Saturday night 2 weeks ago.
Yes, the September 3rd. All In was the first non-WWE wrestling show to sell 10,000 tickets since WCW closed their doors in 2001.
Wow.
In the United States, that is.
Yeah.
Not worldwide, in the U.S. And it was awesome. Spearheaded by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks. This is not a promotion show. It's their show. They assembled the talent. They booked the card. They booked the building. And it sold out in 30 minutes. It was historic, and it delivered basically on all fronts.
Specifics? Like highlights, lowlights?
It's all highlights. There were no lowlights.
Okay.
Every match was great. They delivered what fans wanted to see. If you watch Being the Elite, especially on YouTube, which is the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, it's their YouTube show. It's Being the Elite. It's like 30 minutes every week. They're revolutionizing how to do wrestling, air quotes, television without a TV show.
Television.
There's no matches on Being the Elite, but all their storylines and all of their, antics are all there. And then you watch the promotions that they're in. If you watch ROH, if you watch NJPW, you don't have to watch Being the Elite to watch their stuff in those promotions and understand what's going on. But it helps, and it's fun, and it adds layers to everything. And as a fan, it just makes me that much more invested. So if you watch Being the Elite, All In was like, here's the show for you. We're going to pay off everything we've been doing on Being the Elite for the last 6 months to a year or more.
Dang.
And they did, in satisfying ways. Here's a fun way to look at it. And I hate to bring up WWE all the time because I don't care about
There's
them
nothing
anymore.
else out there to really...
But this is the point. The point is there are alternatives to WWE, and the only way I can... the best way to get across what the strengths of the alternatives are is I have to bring up WWE, unfortunately. So WWE has this really sick relationship with its fans in that it loves to troll them and not give them what they want. It often talks down to them and does not give them satisfying conclusions and pulls the rug out from under them all the time.
They probably think, well, if we give you what you want, you're never going to come back.
Right.
And that's just wrong.
You gotta give me good stuff to keep me entertained with your product. If you keep pulling the rug out from me, eventually I'm going to learn and I'm not coming back. Of course, a lot of people just keep coming back because they feel like if it's not WWE. See, this is the thing. A lot of WWE fans have grown up with only WWE. That's all they know.
Yeah.
So therefore, in their mind, if it's not WWE, it cannot possibly be as good. It can't be good. It's low level. It's crap.
Yeah.
It's not. It can't possibly be as professional as WWE. That's a lie. That's a huge mistake on your part. So, because WWE loves to not give the fans what they want, All In gave everyone what they wanted for a whole show, and it was awesome. Start to finish, awesome. By all accounts, the weekend that they had a big convention attached to the show. Smiles everywhere. Every fan had a great time for a whole weekend and celebrated wrestling. No problems, no hiccups. Like, it was great. It was like a celebration. It was like the Woodstock of wrestling, and everyone had a great time. The highlights, like I said, the whole show was a highlight. But standout moments? Oh, sure, there's lots of them. So, like the Battle Royal that opened on the pre-show was awesome. Probably one of the best Battle Royals I've ever seen, ever. Okay. Normally a Battle Royal is a big schmoz and nothing, you don't really know what's going on until it's just like the end. This Battle Royal, everyone got time to kind of get moments in, and it was made up of really cool moments between guys. Like, oh, wow, what a fun little Battle Royal we got going on here. And right when you think the worst of the worst, Bubba Ray Dudley, or Bully Ray, as he's known as in non-WWE, won? No, he didn't win. El Hijo de Chico, nephew of Chico, masked luchador. He never got into the match to begin with because Bully Ray powerbombed him through a table at the start of the Battle Royal on the outside, so he never entered officially. He re-entered and defeated Bully Ray and won the Battle Royal. And when he took his mask off, I brought this up before on the show, El Hijo de Chico was Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon, who was not booked for All In because Cody hates him so, snuck in and got himself booked for All In because the winner of the Battle Royal would later face Jay Lethal, ROH champion Jay Lethal, in an ROH championship match. So, fun, off the bat. Fun little thing happened.
So, Cody hates him kayfabe or hates him...
It's gotta be kayfabe, because the lines are blurry, but it's gotta be it's a kayfabe thing at this point. So, Flip is young, he's a little green, but he's got potential. So, anyway, that was a highlight. It was a fun moment. Where do I begin? This is a family friendly show, so it's hard to talk about, but it was incredible, and it was probably the moment of the night. So, okay, on Being the Elite, they've been doing a storyline for like 6 months that Joey Ryan, a wrestler who
he's in Lucha Underground.
Yes, his claim to fame is that he flips people using his manhood.
Okay.
So, in Being the Elite, Hangman Adam Page, was jealous of Joey's prowess in this regard and called him a phony and killed him in his sleep in Japan. And for months, he's been paranoid of being found out as having killed Joey Ryan.
Okay.
So Joey Ryan's been dead. And Page has been losing his mind because he thinks people are onto him, having done the deed. So Hangman Page had an awesome match against Joey Janela, Chicago street fight, all over the arena, brawling and tables and weapons and stuff. And he won. It was great spot off a ladder through a table. I mean, he protected Joey Janela very well, but it looked like vicious.
Yeah.
So it was cool. After the match, okay. So you've watched The Undertaker, right?
Yeah.
You have been probably privy to one of his many returns, right? When he's been gone for a little while,
yeah,
and the lights go out, and the Druids come out,
okay,
and they have the Druids all flank the stage, and then the Undertaker comes out flanked by Druids.
Okay. It's an audio medium, Drew.
Okay.
People can't see the befuddled look on your face.
I'm trying to make this as again, family friendly as possible. So there's a video package that plays after Adam Page has won the match, and it shows the killing of Joey Ryan, and then it shows his lifeless corpse and his bloodied face, and it pans down to his sweatpants when something begins to rise. And the lights go out. And then 8 phallic druids flank the stage. A phalanx of phalluses, as it was called by the commentary team, flank the stage. There is Gregorian chant druid music playing. And,
well, there should be.
And out comes the resurrected. See what I did there? Erected. Joey Ryan. He's alive.
Oh, surprise.
Pop of the night. Okay? It was incredible. Because the words I'm saying are so ridiculous, you just have to run with it. It's either the funniest thing on the show, or if you're like a purist, you probably hated it. But if you watch Being the Elite, it paid off months of a gag, and it was awesome. It was awesome. He gets the ring. He does the groin plex, as it were, to Adam Page, and Adam Page is then carried away by the phallic druids into the back.
All right.
That was awesome. Cody won the NWA heavyweight title, the belt his father made famous in the 80s.
Nice.
That was a cool moment. That was a fun little match there. Our Lord and Savior, the Rainmaker Okada, had an amazing match against Marty Scurll, the villain. The gag is that Marty Scurll is a junior heavyweight, as in not a heavyweight, and Okada is Okada, like the greatest wrestler on the planet. But he hung in there, and he had a great match, and the outcome was never in doubt. But they had a fantastic match until Okada realized, I'm Okada, and then it was over. 2 Rainmakers, and it was done. But it was great. It was an excellent match. Pentagon Jr. versus Kenny Omega. Cero Miedo. Yes. Zero fear.
Sorry, Manny.
Great match. Pentagon is not the most technical wrestler, but he is boundless. He has boundless charisma and character, and that's why he's awesome, because he's just awesome to watch. You watch him and you're excited by him because he's cool. Kenny is Kenny. He's like one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, bar none. They put on a really good match. They had, some real stiff looking power bombs and stuff that were a little scary, but they both came out unscathed, and it was great. Kenny won.
Woo!
Lights go out. Lights come back on. Pentagon is standing in the ring across from Kenny. He attacks Kenny. And then you start to notice that Pentagon looks a little different. So as Kenny then eats several finishers of someone else, Pentagon takes off his mask and reveals that it's actually Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho showed up to All In to do a run-in on Kenny Omega. Also to sell tickets to his cruise coming up, the Jericho Cruise, where there will be wrestling matches and bands and the whole thing. Jericho's a little enterprising machine. So he's got the Jericho Cruise coming up, and it will be headlined by the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and who else is? It's a 3-on-3. I forgot who else they're tagging with. Is it Hangman Page? Maybe Hangman Page. But either way,
I thought Kenny and the Young Bucks were.
They are, but the Bucks are Bullet Club, but they're also now Alpha Club. So
confused.
It's just a match. Just a match. So Jericho remarked, "We'll see you on the cruise, Kenny."
So wrestling matches on a boat.
On a boat.
Balance going to be an issue?
It's a cruise ship. It's like, I don't think it'll be a problem.
I saw in my internet surfings, Rey Mysterio was at this, right?
He was.
And he had an outfit
looked like Wolverine.
He was dressed as Wolverine.
He's done this in the past. He's been the Flash, the Joker, and yeah, he's a comic book guy. So
awesome.
He's had several great outfits. Yeah, the main event was great, although they had to cut it down from 28 minutes to 14.
Ooh.
So it got cut in half, basically, because the show was going long and they had to get off the air by a certain point. So they basically had a 6-man match. Young Bucks and Kota Ibushi versus Rey Mysterio, El Bandito, and Rey Fenix, as from Lucha Underground that you might remember.
Okay.
And they basically had to condense a 28-minute match into 14, and it was just spot, like get everything in, and they got it all in, and they got off the air with like literally seconds to spare. So It was great. It was really fun. But anyway, All In was fantastic. What a show! It's a landmark thing for the business. Independent wrestling is cooler. Remember when the NWO hit and it was like the coolest thing ever?
Yeah. Like,
even though it was WCW, but it seemed like they were outsiders.
Like probably my last great wrestling memory before watching, the matches that I've gotten to watch with you. The last time that like wrestling really impacted me was when Hulk Hogan turned heel.
Right.
That was like
a shocking moment.
Yeah.
And it felt like these guys were kind of like, on the outside doing their own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except now that's real now. Like there are these guys that are on the outside and they're making it their own and they're just working and it's great. It's awesome. And they're in ROH, they're in NJPW, they're in Mexico, they're all over the world and they come together in these shows that happen in all these different promotions and it's awesome.
Odds that we see Kenny, Bucks, whomever in Lucha Underground first?
Very, very unlikely, just due to the way Lucha Underground is taped in advance and the way they book talent and contract talent. Don't look for them there. But look for them in ROH, look for them in NJPW, look for them in independent wrestling shows that are happening in your town, wherever you might be. There's probably independent wrestling happening, and if they're of any stature, these guys might be booked on those shows. Go. Have fun. It's great.
Cool.
So, yeah, it was All In. All In was awesome.
Nice.
So, yeah. Okay, that's 2 out of the 4 boxes we get to check here.
Yeah.
I guess we're on the bad box. I don't want to dwell on, really. But it has to be dwelled on. So, yeah. So we unexpectedly lost Lucas last week, last Tuesday. We were supposed to do our show, and unfortunately, Lucas somehow got bloat, which is a very serious condition in dogs, where their stomachs get overfilled, be it with air or water or food or whatever, and in certain dogs. When that happens, they are prone to turning, and when their stomachs turn, it cuts off blood flow and it cuts off the lifeline to those organs. And if it's not caught basically immediately, it is fatal. So we were not home; we were at work. Jen's father was here, and it was not caught in time. And unfortunately, by the time we got home, it was very clear he was not looking good. We rushed him to the emergency vet, and they looked at him and they were just like, this is very serious, and sure, we could do surgery and attempt to right his stomach and yada yada, but based on the blood work they did, it was pretty much a certainty that his organs were already failing as a result of it was too long.
Yeah.
So that was Tuesday. Yeah, that was last Tuesday, and that was an unexpected blow out of nowhere, and really messed us up. And I've done podcasts in the past where I've had to talk about things like this, and it ruined me. And I'm kind of holding it together right now. We miss him, Derek. We miss him terribly. The house is The house is not the same in any capacity. Like, it's quiet in this house now, and that's weird when I still have 3 dogs and something else to fill the air around here, which I'll talk about in a moment. But there's a huge presence missing, and it's not going to get filled. It's just not. So yeah, it sucks. So,
well, yeah, that never gets easy. I've gone through it numerous times myself. I know you've gone through it numerous times.
Yes.
It's never easy.
No.
So,
no, it's not.
Especially, I mean, to this show, Lucas was kind of the unofficial mascot.
Oh, yeah.
So there's definitely something missing right now just from what we're doing right now. You know, we got no, panting breath trying to get into and out of the door numerous times.
As much as a pain as it is, I would give just about anything to have that right now. So,
So Lucas will be dearly missed. But, as I said, joy comes in the morning, and quite literally, joy came in the morning. Yeah,
I mean, again, this is all we go from one extreme to the other, and it's weird, because it's a lot to kind of process. But so that was Tuesday. Wednesday, we're both Jen and I are both obviously very upset. Go to work, and it's kind of in a fog. I don't, whatever. But around 3:15 or so, she said, we have to go to the hospital, and we have to induce labor. Okay. So she was due on Labor Day, so we were a couple days past due.
Yep.
They took a sonogram, and it was like, oh, no, you want to go and get induced now, because, I mean, I don't want to give you, like, the whole stretch of events, but it was time to induce. They had to do it. So we did. And, despite some, concerning moments leading up to the event, nothing serious, but, some red flags here and there that were like, okay, well, we don't want that. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. And yada, yada. It's a very serious thing. In a labor that is going to upset many a mom in the world, that was literally 4 to 5 pushes, and welcome to the world. Thursday, 1:12 a.m. Grant Lucas Celestino was born to the world. Yes,
Drew is a daddy,
living that dad life, son.
Oh man, I'm so happy for you guys. Yeah, that we came by and visited a couple days ago. Heard about the labor duration, which is like, yeah, no.
And like physically, he's a little guy, so
he's a little, like, the word peanut is always used with kids, but
he is a little peanut.
He is the most adorable little peanut.
Well, he is my son, so he's not exactly going to be blessed with size, most likely. We'll see, though. It could change. But in any case, as a result, physically, like, Jen's doing just fine. So she's doing A-okay.
Good.
He didn't put up much struggle to get out, so everybody's good. Mom's good, Grant's good, I'm good, and he's awesome. So
to quote my favorite television show, an episode in which is The West Wing, an episode in which the character Toby just had
not
his
the Office
first
Toby.
Children. What?
Not The Office Toby. No one likes him.
The West Wing.
Oh, okay.
President Bartlett asks Toby, so what do you know today that you didn't know before? Or what do you know now that you didn't know before? So how has the perception of life changed in these short days? Or has it? It doesn't. I mean, it takes time sometimes. Some people, it's instantaneous.
Well, I mean, the connection is immediate.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, make no bones about it. Like, we love him. We love him to death. Like, he's everything. So not that that's unexpected, I guess, but I mean, it's a very real thing that I can't really describe to you. Like,
yeah,
you know, but
it's,
if you don't have kids, I can't describe it to you. You just know. When you know, you know. And that's not to say, like, you know, I'm not trying to. I don't like the cliche. I don't like cliches like that, but it's kind of
cliches
true
for a reason. It's true.
So you know,
you don't know what love is until you have a kid.
Yeah, I guess
you have
it's just
a base understanding.
Sure.
And then you have that kid, and you're like, oh, this is what my life is about now, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, more or less that. It's responsibility. You know,
yeah.
it's a huge burden in a good way.
Yeah,
and you feel every ounce of it. So that's, you know, there is that. But then in terms of, like, you know, I guess what I'm kind of surprised by is, like, you know, how different do you feel? And you feel different? You feel grown up yet? And I'm kind of like, no.
Yeah, it's not that.
No, I feel the same. Yeah. There's just a third person here now.
Yeah,
honestly, like,
yeah.
And I'm sure that, hey, look, he's gonna grow. He's gonna get mobile. Things are gonna get hectic.
Yep.
And that's all gonna, you know, then things are gonna start to feel different. But for now, it's like, it feels, you know, we're home. Yeah. We're home. We got a kid.
They're not very interactive at this point.
Yeah, you know.
They sleep, they eat, they poop. That's what they do at this early stage.
And that's all fine. Like, you know, I just like kind of sitting with him and holding him and checking him out, make sure he's cool.
Yeah.
Opens his eyes up and looks around like a little drunk guy, and, you know, it's funny, and I laugh and talk to him, and it's cool. It's all cool.
Isn't it great when they sleep on you? I know we talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that like the greatest thing in the world?
William
doesn't do it that much anymore.
It inspires me to sleep, though, which is a double-edged sword. Cause it's like,
no, that's good.
It is.
It's one of the old sayings that's actually like true and accurate.
They sleep, you sleep.
They sleep, you sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. So, like, we had a little nap today. I was playing some Fire Pro with him, and I'm like, he was passed out on me. So I got some matches, and then I was kind of like, yeah, I'm good here. I'm gonna take a little nap. I took a little nap. But no, he's awesome. I love him to death. So it's really cool. And yeah, that's what's going on. That dad life.
So the adventure begins.
It has begun. Yes, it has begun. And yeah, he's named after Grant Morrison, in case anyone wants to know.
Yes, Grant Morrison. Lucas obviously is.
Yeah,
Lucas.
We didn't have any strong feelings on the middle name for, you know, leading up, and in light of events, it was like, no, that kind of has to be it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's awesome.
Yep. So that does it for our weeks, which I think is probably the longest. How was your week? Where are we at?
I'll check the timer. Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it's 47 minutes. That's half the show.
Yeah, it's the longest. How was your weeks? But with good reason.
There's content in there, man.
Yeah. Dear listener, if you would like to tell us about your weeks, reach out to us, comment on us, congratulate Drew on his new addition to his family. You can do so at the following locations. You can follow us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to Facebook and go to facebook.com/devilsdopod and like our page. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, that being said, we do have a couple of emails.
I hope so.
Actually, they're just emails from last week. We didn't get any new emails.
You know, whatever.
Well, people probably didn't know if we were going to have a show or not. I didn't know if we were going to have a show or not.
We're back, baby.
Fine. Yeah, we're back. We're back in dad form.
Yeah, yeah, right. We're even less cool to the kids now.
So we have emails from, probably the best way to describe them is Uncle Alan and Uncle Jay.
Unky.
I'm
a big fan of Unky.
Yes. So
Danny DeVito's not going to steer you wrong. It's Unky.
That's true. So, starting with Mr. Alan Waiters, Drew and Carl. If you were to make a Daredevil video game, what style would you use? Open sandbox like the Sony Spider-Man game, or more gritty, linear like the Roxy Batman Arkham games?
Style of what? He's talking style or genre, I guess.
I think he's saying more style.
So Arkham or what?
Arkham or the current Sony Spider-Man game? Like more sandbox explore. I think I would probably do sandbox only because like the New York City, Hell's Kitchen, what have you, the architecture there is kind of set and you know where locations are.
Yeah.
So you can go to specific locations in the game. Whereas Gotham and Arkham has always been in the interpretation of the artist.
Yes. I guess if those are the options, yeah, I would go with the Spider-Man game just based on what I've seen of it. I want that game. I want you to play that game.
It looks pretty insane.
Right now, I'm backlogged. I still have Octopath to play. I got a few more hours in the hospital, which was good, but I'm a ways away from ever finishing it.
I'm in the home stretch of Octopath,
Okay.
and then that Spider-Man will be the next one.
So obviously, I also have Fire Pro. So there's that. That Mega Man 11 demo happened, and that's fun.
Yeah,
difficult but fun. I don't know when that's coming. I think that comes out in November or something like that, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. So
cool.
Get ready for that. So I'm backlogged, but I would really like to play Spider-Man. But that means that by the time I'm ready to play Spider-Man, it'll probably be on sale. So
yeah,
I just want to be honest, I don't even care about the story. I just want to run around New York City and see stuff. I saw
Web swing never gets old.
No, and especially again because I know New York City very well because I've been there a million times.
Yeah,
I want to just run around and check out buildings and locales and be like, oh, look what they put in the game. Look at that.
Yep.
So I think Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, Spider-Man. Hold on a second.
Unlock that phone, son.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Carl, what will be the greatest life lesson you teach William? This is actually pretty simple, and I've spoken about this before on the show. If the greatest life lesson I could ever teach William is this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul, and love others as yourself. If I can get that right with him, everything else will fall into place. It's that simple and incredibly difficult at the same time. So yeah.
Hashtag dad life.
Yeah, hashtag dad life. Drew, with the 30th season of The Simpsons, with the upcoming 30th season of The Simpsons, what makes The Simpsons such a pop culture phenomenon, especially the early season?
Well, the early seasons are obvious because it was good.
Yeah, it was.
At the time, it was subversive. It was cartoons like that did not exist at the time The Simpsons came around, and it had heart. It was smart. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did.
Yeah.
And
it had Bart.
It had. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Heart.
Look at that.
Smart. It had Bart.
Yeah. It came at the exact right time when it needed to. And those first 10, 15 years were magic.
Yeah.
Magic. So its legacy was established. I mean, it was sound. It was on solid footing where it never needed to do anything else.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept going. And look, I'm going to be honest. It's
time to be done.
Yeah. I'm not one of those guys that says like it stinks after this insert line of demarcation here.
You'll always, even on new episodes, current episodes, past couple seasons, you'll always laugh at least once throughout an episode.
Yeah, but the episodes themselves are not as good as they used to be.
Yeah.
I will concede that they're not. But you will find one or two episodes a season that are as good as the show has ever been.
Yeah.
But so it's just not as consistently good as it was in its prime. But after 30 years, I don't know, man. I feel like, what are we doing? Let's just, what a run. Okay, why continue to kind of...
It's one of those things that kind of makes you wonder when they finally call it on The Simpsons, that series finale. Wonder if that will be the thing to top MASH for the most watch television.
I don't think so.
Most watched non-live television program.
I don't think so, honestly. Television ratings are down across the board for everything. I don't think.
Yeah, but there's certain things that'll bring people back, especially when like you can get Fox over rabbit ears. So
I just think our culture is kind of past that. I have to see this live mentality. I mean, it'll do numbers, but
Yeah.
it won't break any records or anything.
Won't do those MASH numbers.
No. Singular moments like that in our culture are going to be fewer and far between. I look at music, especially, look at record sales, big artists. You're not going to have. You're not going to have ubiquitous cultural moments like that anymore. It's going to be niche stuff it's pockets of stuff for people that and that are interested, and that's really what you're going to have. But either way, I really wish they would kind of wrap it up. At this point, they've already lost the voice of Mrs. Krabappel has passed. Phil Hartman alone, I'll tell you that even though he wasn't a principal cast member, that was like a real blow to the show.
Yeah,
and that could be a moment where I would say, show was never the same. So who else? Not for nothing. The voice of Marge is starting to get like she's having a hard time keeping that voice up. Like, what are we hanging on to? Like, does a principal cast member have to die before we call it a day? Like, maybe it's time.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Anyway.
Cool. Thanks, Alan. Moving on to Unky J. Carl and Drew, I was recently in Columbus this weekend as my wife has family there. What is your least favorite place to visit, as I have just returned from mine?
Oh.
Least favorite place to visit?
Well, here's the thing.
Work? Does work count?
Wow. If I don't want to go somewhere, I just don't.
Yeah, I can't really.
So.
Can't. Yeah. I'm about to say.
Actually, you know what? Now that I've been there twice and I feel no desire to go back except for the weather, L.A.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to L.A. Seen it, done it. I'm good.
Good.
I'm good there.
Alrighty. Drew, upon your demise, why does he always ask you questions about when you die?
I mean, it's going to happen. Eventually.
Yeah, I know, but still. He doesn't need to rush it.
No.
Upon your demise, what would you like your funeral to be like? Specific music, special coffin, carried away like the Hangman Page at All In.
See? It's a moment. Believe it or not, this comes up and I'm mowing the lawn sometimes. Just thinking about what would that be like? Certain songs that just comes up and I got the headphones in. It's like, you know what? Play that one at my funeral.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will be specific song choices, I think. No specific casket requests or I don't need the phallic druids, although it would be kind of cool. Not gonna lie, really
the
blow minds.
Druids,
exactly.
It works on so many levels.
It really does, and I think it would really blow minds at the funeral to people who don't know what is going on. They'd be like, "Why are there inflatable
Drews?"
Right. What is happening right now? That could be fun. Yeah, I got some songs that I like that I think would be a choice. So I'd keep it classy.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm not going to bust out like some death metal opus or anything like that. Just some Weezer, maybe some Nine Inch Nails, maybe some Metallica. I could find something to rope people in and just have a little party.
I'm a little cliche with my funeral. The obviously the Guns N' Roses version of Knocking on Heaven's Door. I think it just
I would also have.
I told Julie to cremate me.
Yeah, same.
Funerals are so dang expensive.
I mean, have a gathering by all means.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't.
I told Julie I want everyone to wear superhero T-shirts to my funeral.
Yeah, wear what you want. I don't care. But I don't need to be put in the ground or anything. It's expensive. I'm gone, man. You do what you want with me after that. Beer. There will be beer at the funeral. Good beer. So drink, enjoy, celebrate.
I'm gonna pour Budweiser in your ashes.
Oh, that's man. I'd rather you pee on my ashes.
I mean, really?
Quote me there.
Tomato.
Well, yeah, exactly. So funny story. We were at the hospital. It's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So they have kids there and stuff. So they brought one of the Budweiser Clydesdales to the hospital for the kids.
Yeah.
And I was walking past it, and like my mother-in-law was like, "Oh, it's so beautiful." I'm like, and it's a very beautiful animal.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there, and I just walked by. I'm just like, never have I been so repulsed by something so beautiful. Like, it's not a horse; it's a marketing tactic, and I ain't falling for it.
No. Alrighty. Carl, if you could take the characters from Pixar movies and put them in a Street Fighter type game,
Ooh.
who do you think are the strongest? Yeah, think here. Well, you got your Sully from Monsters Inc. Good beefy Zangief type character. Probably be really good. Let's see here. Buzz would probably be Buzz and Woody would probably be like kind of the Ken and Ryu of the game.
Nice.
You know what? I see Mr. Potato Head being a wild card character. Just like being able to like use his parts as projectiles,
Sure.
but each one would have like different effects and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else?
Cars.
Cars would be hard to do.
Yeah.
Cars would be hard to do. There's been a car in a fighting game once, and it wasn't, good.
I'm what?
Oh, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
What?
There's an old fighting game for, what is it? I want to say Dreamcast. Dreamcast? No, Sega Saturn. I think it's Sega Fighting All-Stars, something along those lines. But a car from Daytona, USA is a character, and you fight with it.
Is it like a transformer?
No.
It's a car.
Just a car. So, cars, punching with its tires and whatnot.
Okay.
We'll look up some YouTube after the show.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. Trying to think what else.
I mean, anyone from Finding Nemo is going to be difficult because they're underwater.
Nemo's going to be unless you do the daughter, the little girl, the crazy one.
Okay.
She just grabs you and shakes you, puts you in a bag and shakes you.
Wally. Put Wally in there.
Yeah.
He's not really a fighter though, but he's scrappy.
Yeah,
The Incredibles. You got your Power there.
The whole cast in there. Yeah. So it's worth a realm worth exploring.
Sure.
So all right, that does it for the cross-examination, which was considerably shorter than.
Yeah, I thought there'd be more. I want there to be more. Oh well. Okay.
It's okay. Which brings us on to the news, and we don't have a lot of news to go through.
Well, some stuff.
Some stuff, not some stuff. We'll go back 2 weeks first, and if we go back even further, 3 weeks, we discussed a news story that was announced 3 weeks ago that we kind of had a chuckle about, and we'll be continuing chuckle about. 3 weeks ago, we announced that Alec Baldwin was cast in the Joker film.
Alec Baldwin.
And then the next week, he left the Joker film.
Yeah, that was a real high buy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess he doesn't want to keep playing Trump, which I guess is what this Joker film is building Thomas Wayne to be. Because
that makes sense.
Yeah, because is not at all what that character was. So yeah, Baldwin was like, yeah, you can get any number of guys to play this role. See you guys later.
Billy Baldwin.
Get a lesser
Baldwin.
So yeah. So you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember those old sports goofy cartoons? Like the football one and the soccer one?
Vaguely.
There was a hockey one, right? And there at one point there's the announcer's calling in, these two guys are fighting, and the announcer's like, and there go Bertico and Fergus in the penalty box. And then a little while later in cartoon, and they come out of the penalty box and immediately start fighting again. The announcer's like, and here come Bertico and Fergus out of the penalty box. And there go Bertico and Fergus back in the penalty box.
Yeah.
So it's like, bing, bang,
it's like that.
Done.
Wow, that's okay.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that one too.
This movie is still happening, by the way. It is happening. This Joker movie.
It's currently happening.
I can't believe this is happening.
It's currently happening. Whether or not it will ultimately happen.
It's happening.
Well, now if they keep losing cast members that they
lost
they
one.
can't
They'll
hold on
find
for a
someone
week. Okay, so a news story that didn't garner a lot of attention, but I think is definitely worth mentioning. 2 weeks ago, Incredibles 2 quietly became the first animated movie to hit $600 million.
Not surprised. Makes sense.
not surprised.
Anticipated.
Yeah.
Big movie.
So it was just like I was surprised, but at the same time, not that an animated film has never done that before, considering like, Toy Story. And
Yeah.
You would think if you had to pick an animated franchise to cross that mark first,
Yeah.
Incredibles would not be the one that I would have thought of.
Well, like I said,
Probably like a Toy Story or Despicable Me or something.
I would think
that.
Toy Story among the franchises, but Incredibles had a lot going for it. We're in superhero culture mode still, and it has been a long time since the first one. So
I've heard nothing but good things about the
I haven't
second
seen
one.
it yet. I feel so bad,
Nor
but
have
time is at a premium. So good for that. Good for that.
Yeah. All right, so on to this past week. Very show relevant, extremely show relevant. We got some teaser stuff for Daredevil season 3.
We did.
We got like a teaser image of a missing poster of Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And then we got a not even like teaser trailer, but just like a 30-second clip.
It's a clip. It was on Iron Fist season 2, which I have yet to watch. But I hear good things.
It's probably the stinger at the end of the last episode.
Correct.
So we have Matt in the confessional in costume, not in the Daredevil costume per se, but in the
black costume.
the proto Daredevil costume, and he's not sounding like Matt.
Something tells me his world is going to be torn asunder in this season. And what is the remark that he says? I'd rather die as Daredevil than live as Matt Murdock? Okay. Well, folks, that's not the Matt we know.
Go read Born Again.
Yeah, they're clearly probably going to do Born Again.
Yeah.
Which, hey, if you got one, we don't know how many more of these seasons we're going to get. So if you're going to do it, do it.
Both from a lot of things I've seen a lot of positive, a little bit of negative, but a lot of positive about Iron Fist season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw an article earlier today. Both Mike Coulter and Finn Jones are both down for a Heroes for Hire series.
Make it happen, man.
Do it.
Again, get
we
those
want
guys
more
together.
We want more patty cake.
I'm down. Those guys are great together. I hear good things about Iron Fist season 2.
Yeah,
it can't possibly be worse. So
I mean, it can always be worse.
I guess.
It can always be.
It would take effort to be worse.
So now bringing us to probably the biggest news story of the week. We got first official images from Captain Marvel coming
Yes,
out.
we did.
So we got to see the costume.
Yeah.
Which there's little Drew-like nitpick I have on the costume.
I know what you're talking about. I don't care.
But they kind of, as you said in our chat, they kind of buried the lead on the reveal of the...
Yeah, let's pause for a minute, because the big headline was, Captain Marvel finally revealed.
Yes.
It's like, here she is in costume, and it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, it looks cool. She looks cool.
She looks great.
They took the literal costume off the page and made it MCU'd it up a little bit, and there it is.
Not the literal costume off. Like, she's got an annoying blue stripe going down.
Oh, well, like I said, they MCU'd it up a little bit so they can sell you new toys, and because that's what they did. And yeah, it's cool. Like, okay, great.
Looks great.
I thought they were going to drop a trailer based on the Twitter verbiage before the deadline came, but that's okay.
No trailer was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but that's fine. So we had these shots, and it's like, oh yeah, there she is in costume on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. Then there was an actual still shot from the movie, which looked better than the cover of the magazine, because they always somehow over Photoshop these things.
Yeah, way too much.
So the still shot looked great. I'm like, oh wow, I spent some money on that costume. All right.
And then we got to see, there was a shot with we got to see a little bit of Marvel.
Yeah, they're not saying that it's Marvel, but it's Jude Law playing a senior Kree commanding
Marvel
officer, and it's Marvel.
We saw Ronan.
Ronan is back from Guardians, because this is a prequel, folks.
Yep.
The Space Force, which has he's on the Space Force guy.
Yeah.
And they look cool, because they look all like, green and black Kree looking suits, and it's like, oh, this looks pretty neat. But what didn't get like a lot of traction in that initial release, which to me as a Marvel nerd, I was like, you're burying the lead here, man. Skrulls.
We've got Skrulls.
Honest to God, Skrulls in the MCU, man. This is a big deal. I'm sorry, but this is a very big deal.
And they were just straight up, they were not disguised or anything.
No.
It was just Skrulls.
Yep, they're green.
Look at them.
They got stripes on their chin, although not quite as wrinkly, because I would guess because they don't want to confuse people and make them think that they're kind of like Thanos.
Yeah.
but they still have stripes on them.
And
so
they got the ears.
They got the ears. They wear purple outfits, and they're green. Yep. Okay, they're Skrulls.
They are Skrulls.
Wow. Now, legally speaking, that was a big question mark for a long, long time.
Like,
obviously,
we were all kind of asking, weren't they part of the Fantastic Four film rights?
Right, because when the first Avengers movie came out, and the Chitauri were the alien race that invaded, there was a lot of talk that it was supposed to be the Skrulls, but couldn't be because of the legal ramifications with Fox. Now, one of two things either happened. One, that was never the case, and here we are, Skrulls, makes sense to introduce them now. Or two, it was the case, and now the acquisition is basically a done deal, and Marvel's like, yeah, we're doing it. We don't care.
Yeah.
Either way, Skrulls.
Skrulls.
Wow. And this apparently is going to be like the MCU version of the Kree-Skrull War in
I
Captain
thought
Marvel.
There were two things that this can potentially lead to. Like we've talked about kind of where they go, what's the next big thing they do after Infinity War is resolved and we get to the next iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Introducing the Skrulls introduces one of two possibilities. One, they could do like just kind of a running Kree-Skrull war story with Earth caught in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, they could do Secret Invasion.
Everyone wants to talk about that, and I guess I'm the only one that's just like, don't do that.
I would be totally okay if they decide to do Secret Invasion, because then you have something that can carry the weight of Infinity War without having to do the grand until the absolute end.
Maybe.
Remember, the MCU is notorious for taking titles and reinventing them.
True.
Like
yeah,
they did with Age of Ultron
was nothing like the comic. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Civil War was not at all like Civil War. I mean, kind of, but not really.
Winter Soldier was like probably the one that followed the most closely.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, hey, we're getting Skrulls and what a time to be alive. if they turn one into a cow at any point, whoa. That's all I can say.
I love the image that I think Alan sent us where someone did a mock-up of like a 90s pop album with that shot of the Skrulls.
They're in the water. It's all well lit.
It's so great.
Yeah. It looks like a boy band. Oh,
yes.
Tremendous.
Oh, God.
Tremendous.
It was,
did you see the picture of Nick Fury?
Like youngified Nick Fury?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it looks great. Marvel has this incredible youngified technology that they just sprinkle on guys now, and it's like, oh, hey, Michael Douglas from 1985 is right there.
Yeah. Look, it's Michelle Pfeiffer from the same era.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how this is going to work throughout an entire film.
I'm sure that we won't notice or care. Here's the thing, though. As cool as it is, like, hey, Sam Jackson looks good there, right?
And they're doing it for Clark Gregg as well, for Agent Coulson.
Okay. I'm just going to say it because I have to. Big missed opportunity. Huge missed opportunity here with the young Sam Jackson. Why couldn't we put the wig from Pulp Fiction on?
No.
Yes.
No, because then everybody is watching it giggling instead of watching it paying attention.
Oh, no, they're in. I'm in. I'm all in.
Well, no, because that hairstyle wasn't in the 90s.
Yet Pulp Fiction took place in 1994, man.
The time that Pulp Fiction takes place is erroneous at best.
I'm just saying. They put the quote on his tombstone.
I know. I think the wig or even the goatee would probably have been one step too far.
No way. I need it. I need it. There's still time. There's still time with the CGI magic. Let's make it happen.
All right, so that about does it for the news. We didn't, for obvious reasons, Drew has been very busy, so we don't have an episode this week. What we do have, though, is a bit of a discussion that was suggested by Mr. Emmanuel Marin in his last visit to us, and it's something that I thought about. I thought would be a good subject for discussion, and that is comic book collecting.
Yeah. Now,
when I say comic book collecting, I mean specifically not necessarily buying a comic book for the sole purpose of reading it, but buying like a back issue for the purpose of collecting and having a complete run, or even for lack of, better reasoning, an investment, whatnot. Because it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough to where somebody will come up to me and say, like someone I know, and they'll be like, hey, I found comic book XYZ. Is it worth anything?
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be an interesting discussion to have to kind of inform the people who may not be collectors per se, but may be interested in getting into the collecting, like kind of how to go about it, what to look for. So yeah, I suppose this would revolve predominantly around back issues.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. Back issues are what you get asked about mostly.
Yeah.
When you're a comic book guy and people who don't know comics ask you, hey, yeah, like you said, I've got these comics. Are they worth anything? And, I'm going to, let's get it off the bat. If they're from the 90s, 99 times out of 100,
yeah,
the answer is going to be no, they're not. They're worthless.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. You might not want to hear that as an answer. Most people don't want to hear that as an answer because they were told in the time they were released they were going to be these collector's items and yada,
I worked
yada.
at a comic shop for a time, and there was like it would happen at least once or twice a month. Someone would come in, we wouldn't recognize them. Comic shops have fairly regular customers, and they would come in with a big box of comics. They wanted to sell them, and you could kind of tell they thought they were going to get a huge payday there.
Yeah.
And they opened the box up, and it was all 90s stuff. Death of Superman, which, not worthless, but it's not going to make a car payment for you either. It's like $75, $80 book.
At most.
Bagged.
At most, yeah. Now, the one out of the 100... to the 99, that is, would be something like the first appearance of Deadpool.
Yes, New Mutants 99?
98 or 99, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Either way, that issue, because of Deadpool's popularity, has skyrocketed in value. Or something like, I don't know. I don't know. Deadpool might be. I think he might be the big exception.
Yeah, it helps to approaching us defining value. How does something attain value?
Right. Well,
and as far as comic books go, I've always said there's implied value and then there's actual value.
Right.
Implied value, there's a company called Overstreet, and they put out once a year, a comic book price guide, which lists, depending on what volume you get, dang near any comic book you can think of that's been released since comic books have been around. Like, this thing is thick. It's like it's going to be like phone book thick, and they give you a value, a number value based on the condition of the comic, like good, fine.
We should probably talk about those too.
Yeah, we'll get to there. So they give you a number value based on that. That is what I refer to as implied value. That's what this highly regarded company is saying this comic book is worth. What actual value is what people will pay for said comic. And the easiest way to find actual value on a comic is eBay. Go to eBay, look in, seeing what people are paying for that specific
Check the completed
issue.
and sold listings.
Yep. That'll give you an idea.
The actual value.
And then when you get into those listings, get into like condition, which we'll talk about in a moment. And was it part of a bulk sale? Was it just sold by itself? So that will give you an idea of what the value of what you have is. If you're not finding it on there at all, it's not worth anything.
Probably.
Yeah.
Or it's so rare that they haven't necessarily sold on eBay.
Possibly.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But, again, most
You're not
likely,
going to find Action Comics #1 on eBay.
No. Books of that caliber are we have brokers for that kind of thing.
You go to like auction houses to sell those.
So if you've got something like that on your hands,
you're good.
You don't need us. You need to call a professional.
Yes. Yeah. But probably the most common thing is like, either a relative passes or someone just kind of hands down a box full of stuff like that. And it can be books from the 1990s, which should probably back up a little bit here. Comic books take roughly 20 to 30 years to really start to come into their value. We're seeing now the books from the 80s really start to increase in value. And the reason we're seeing this, and obviously going back, 70s, 60s, 50s, whatnot, comic books having huge values is because, as you mentioned, rarity.
The more time goes on, the less of these things are likely to survive.
Yeah.
So the fewer there are, the more valuable it will be when suddenly a surge of people has interest in it. Finite resources, folks. I mean, I can't make it any simpler than that. Like,
how many times have you heard the story? Oh, I had X-Men #1, Spider-Man #1, Fantastic Four.
Mom threw it out.
Mom threw it out.
Right. Yeah.
Mom has been the greatest help to the collector's value.
The only thing that's the thing that is hurting value from like the 70s onward, honestly, the thing that's going to hurt it indefinitely is basically that's when the direct market became a thing. Comic book stores.
Yeah.
Who shops at comic book stores? Collectors. People like me. People like you. I buy my comics, and you know what I do? Read them, bag them, board them, and I don't touch them again, most likely.
Yeah.
They are safe. They are secure. They are protected. They are in perfect condition at all times. There's a lot of me out there, and a lot of people that shop at comic shops from that time forward do the exact same thing. So finding a copy in great condition is not that hard. Basically, the books become less rare. Books in good condition become less rare after a certain point. Yeah. So the 80s and the 90s and onward, it's not like Action Comics #1, where we had war and paper drives, where comics were melted down and liquidated because they were disposable. These things have been made and bought and sold by people like me for the sole purpose of keeping them in perfect condition. So there's a lot more of them out there.
Going back to, like you mentioned, Action Comics #1. Back then, there was no idea these things would have any value. So kids rolled them up, stuck them in their back pocket, or colored on them and whatnot, and it was just taken from that. Flash forward to the 90s. What happens to the value? Well, first off, up until the early to mid 90s, yes, there is that direct market in the comic book shops that has come up, but comic books are also still largely available in where we discovered them first, which was spinner racks at convenience stores,
right,
grocery stores, things like that. That starts to go away. And in the 90s, the collector's boom happens. And the collector's boom is when Death of Superman came out. It was a very slow news day, and it was the first comic to really get huge mainstream media news coverage.
Right.
So all these news outlets are hyping this thing up, making it sound like you've got, buy 10 of them because they're going to be worth like $1,000 each one day. So when Death of Superman is released, you have lines out the door of comic book stores going down the block. And these are people who have probably never darkened the door of a comic book store before.
Right.
And they're buying 10, 20 copies of this thing. And it sells out almost instantaneously. That thing went I think 7 or 8 reprints.
Yeah.
Had the Death of Superman issue had. So then Marvel and DC get wind that, hey, people want to buy comic books as an investment. The age of the gimmick begins.
Oh, the gimmicks. So
the gimmicks.
Foil covers. Die-cut covers. Die-cut foil covers.
Die-cut foil hologram.
Don't forget the embossing.
The embossed.
We had the rub the blood phenomenon of Image, where you could rub the cover and show the blood, make the blood appear and disappear.
#1s started to become more frequently, which there were 2 legit mega hit #1s, which was Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #1.
Yes.
And then Jim Lee's X-Men #1.
Yes. To a lesser degree, X-Force #1.
Yeah, X-Force was kind of it was bagged, and it came with collector cards. And you had to try. I hunted down all the cards, and I had them in all the bags.
X-Men
Spider-Man #1
Bagged.
was bagged and came with different colored backgrounds.
Yep.
And then there was the ultra rare platinum color background.
The
This is
X-Men
most valuable
#1 had, what, 5 covers?
Yeah, 5 different covers that all formed a pretty awesome, still to this day, iconic
Yes.
X-Men
absolutely.
image. But yeah, you had people buying multiple copies of this book. And print runs exploded.
Millions of copies.
Print runs were at the point they were back in the 40s and the 50s when comic books were first starting. Print runs were just out of control. And everybody's buying these things, and everybody's doing what you said earlier. They're buying them, they're bagging them, they're boarding them, they're putting them away and forgetting about them. So what's happening, Drew? None of them are getting thrown out or destroyed.
Right, exactly. They're not rare.
Yeah.
And if it's like it's that simple. It's not rare.
If you've got a Spawn #1,
Welcome to the club.
and you want that book to increase in value, here's what you can do. Go on eBay, buy a crate of Spawn #1s. When you get it, light it
'em
on fire. That's the best thing you could do
Yeah.
for
And
your
then-
Spawn #1.
Then hope that the new movie is like a blockbuster.
Yeah. So that's kind of where value falls into place.
Right.
I think we've kind of ran a good gambit with value. Now, the second aspect, condition.
Yes. Now this is where it gets confusing. To be fair, not to use a grade term, because fair is a grade term, but we'll get into that. This can be a little confusing for people because your conditions come to like basically poor, fair, fine, good, very good, near mint, etc.
Yeah.
And like when people hear good isn't that good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, goods par, goods middle grade.
Like I have all these pulled up if you want me to read them.
Yeah, I prefer the number system.
Well, there's numbers on here too.
Yeah.
So like you've got incomplete, which is like 0.3 to 0.1. So that means we're missing covers.
Yeah.
We've got serious damage. We got just pages missing, etc.
Yep.
Tears, the works. Poor 0.5. Okay, poor comic. Major defects that there's almost no collector value. And this,
Yeah.
so if a poor comic, it's missing pages, it's missing the cover possibly, maybe the back cover, stained, abrasions, ink is missing, sun fades, things like that, or it's been written on, yada
Yep.
yada. Okay, now fair. You hear fair, and you think like, oh, fair. Like,
Yeah.
probably not bad. No, fair is not. See again, these
You're not in the
1.5 to 1.0. That's fair.
Yeah.
And that means
the only books that are in any of these conditions listed that you will make any money on are Action Comics #1 or Detective Comics 27.
true gem comics. Yeah. So a fair comic, it has all of its pages and most of the cover. It's worn, ragged, and a little unattractive. It's got heavy creases and folds, possibly. The paper quality might be low. The spine and the cover might be split. You might be missing staples.
Yep.
Coupons that were in the comic might be missing. Panels possibly clipped out. Parts of the front cover might be missing. Soiling, staining, tears, markings, or chunks missing that will interfere with reading. Tape is acceptable for a fair comic book. So now we're going to get into what they call good. And again, this is where it gets to be a little kind of a
Something you might make a couple bucks on.
yeah. Now it's 3.0 to 1.8. And 3.0 is good to very good.
You mean 1.8 to 3.0?
I'm reading it as it says. So, we're going
Yeah.
high to low. So a good comic is, as it says here, is a misnomer. It's readable, but there are defects, okay?
Yes.
So a good comic is everything that we said before, but better, okay? So the paper might not be good, and there might be pieces of pages missing. Books that are of this grade are almost always creased or scuffed or soiled, but still readable,
Yeah.
okay? Large pieces could be missing from the cover. There may be long or many spine splits, and the cover might be detached but not missing, and this is still a collectible comic book. It's still mostly intact, even though its condition might not be pristine. Very good. Now we're getting a little better here, okay? So a very good comic are complete, but they may have creases or a spine roll.
Yep.
Spine roll being if you were to take the comic lengthwise, as in, and roll it across its spine.
Yeah.
Thus
So
crinkling the spine.
If you lay the comic down flat and it curls up a bit at the spine, that's spine roll.
Mm-hmm. Now, cover gloss can be low or sometimes no gloss at all. Inside paper quality can be low and small pieces of pages are missing. Books with brittle pages cannot grade higher than 3.5 and are even lower sometimes. Books in this grade are almost always creased, scuffed, abraded, and soiled, but readable. And a larger amount of tape is allowed in this grade, apparently, than the next one up. So next one up being fine. Now, see, this is where I get a little annoyed. To me, as a word, good is better than fine.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
But in comic grading, fine is better than good.
Yeah.
So a fine comic is a 7 to a 5.5. Okay. A fine comic is definitely a read copy with handling wear, but can still be very desirable. It could have one major defect, like a larger piece of the cover, or a long tear, or a detached centerfold. It has some stress lines on the spine and creases from opening and closing of the cover. It could have a light reading or subscription crease or a rolled spine, but it's not damaged enough to reduce the eye appeal dramatically. So in other words, you look at it, and your gut says, it looks good.
Yeah.
It can have some cover discoloration. Fading in colors and soiling is allowed. Cover and or inside pages could have some tears or folds. With the absence of many other defects, the cover can be detached from one staple, but the cover cannot be completely detached from the interior. You'll see that. You see that sometimes with one staple just gives out.
Yep.
So yeah, pages might be brownish, but not brittle. If they're brittle, we're going to be less than fine. So, depending on how the comic looks, it says here tape. Some small amounts of tape might be allowable in a fine book. Better than fine. Now we're getting into near mint territory. Very fine to near mint. This is what basically all people like me's comics look like.
Yeah.
Or better. So we're going from like 9.0 to the 7.5. We're in that range.
Mm-hmm.
Looking good here. A very fine comic book appears to have been read a few times and has been handled with care. These grades allow for some more defects than higher grades. Overall, an above-average copy and is still very collectible. So, it may have a fold or crease in the cover that breaks color. So, let's say you've got a black spine of the book.
Yeah.
Where the book opens.
Yeah.
If it's been creased or crinkled a little bit, you might get a little crack. We see the white paper kind of pop through. Mm-hmm. That's what they're talking about here. A few small chips on the cover. So think about corner dings and things of that nature. Or the one that hurts my heart the most, the minuscule corner fold, the itty bitty corner fold that you can just see. And you're like, it was right there. Some stress marks on the spine. Few small chips. The cover has some slight surface wear, but still has much of its original gloss, and there is nothing major wrong with it. Sun shadows, dust shadows, and tanning can be darker and have more of a visual impact than those in higher grades. Now we're getting into the gems, the cherries, the good stuff. Near mint to mint. Oh, I like these. Oh, Carl, these descriptions are sexy. Do it, Stu. Listen to this. This book is an excellent copy with great eye appeal. Vibrant with supple pages. I love it. I love it. Supple.
Go on.
That's it, really. But supple.
Yeah.
Spine may have a couple of small stress lines that break color. Minor creasing. Spine is almost completely flat, as in it's looking good. It doesn't fold over. In other words, it doesn't curl. Cover is relatively flat with minimal surface wear, and the cover inks are generally bright with medium to high reflectivity. Ooh. Staples may show some discoloration, but it's not too noticeable on the first glance. Inside pages and covers will be off-white to white, but can be cream or off-white with the absence of other defects. Now we're getting 9.6 and above here now, Carl. Near mint. And then we have near mint, mint, and mint. Basically, at this point, your comic book is in exceptional condition.
Yeah. And here's something interesting. A 10 mint condition comic book,
Almost impossible.
almost impossible to find. And I'm talking about like of books that we go and buy today.
Yes.
New books. Just because the basic shipping and the stuff they go through in the machinery, some little thing's going to happen to like every book.
Not to mention they get packed, shipped across the country, handled by a store, by a staff, put onto a table or in a rack of some kind.
Yeah.
A 10
Unless
is
you are
exceptionally
there
rare.
to grab it off the printing press, you're not getting a 10. And if it's like older than 5 years, it's not a 10. It's not. You're never going to hear about like a 10.0 Action Comics #1
No,
or Detective
impossible.
27. We keep saying these, and I'm sure most people know, but Action Comics #1's first appearance of Superman. Detective 27's first appearance of Batman. So how do you go about buying comics for collecting purposes? Well, comic shops are going to be the best outlet. I don't advocate buying comics on the internet because of the nature of comic book collecting, as Drew, you just went through, is very intricate process to grade a comic book. So what you want to do is you want to go to comic shops. I think it's comicshoplocator.com is a website that if you don't know of any comic shops in your area, you can find one. When you're at the shop, and you typically their back issue bins will be in either drawers or comic book long boxes or whatnot, like a filing system you can go through. If you find something that you think you want to purchase, and you want to inspect it further, if this comic book is bagged, do not open it yourself and inspect it right then and there. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I don't care how much of an expert you are. It's professional courtesy to take it to somebody in the shop who has authority and ask permission to inspect the comic. Now, obviously, if this is something that's like a higher quality book, 9 times out of 10, those will be on display behind the counter. So in order to inspect it, you would have to speak to them anyway. But I say again, if it's in a bag or in a board and a filing system, and you want to inspect it, ask permission. It's just it puts you in good standing with the store. It shows that you respect their space, and it's just a good practice. As far as inspecting it goes, it's been a long time since I bought for purposes of collecting. Comic book collecting is really expensive, depending on what you want to collect. So what I would do, at least myself, is I would start at the borders on the cover and just work my way inward. It's especially like 9 times out of 10, you probably just want to start with the spine. Because if there's going to be a defect, 9 times out of 10, that's where the defect's going to be. Because it kind of holds the book together. Yeah, it holds the book together, and it's susceptible to the most like wear and tear.
And we should also point out, like, we've gone over the descriptions, and these are the things you should look for when you're doing that. But here's some friendly advice from a collector point of view, and I don't necessarily mean from an investment point of view. If you want to collect something and you don't care about all that stuff, dude, go for it.
Yeah.
Collection.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing. I've got a complete run of G.I. Joe, the original Marvel series, 1 through 155. Whole run.
Yeah.
Are they all mint in your mint? No. Not even close. The key issues are the ones I really like.
Yeah.
The ones that are worth, the significant ones, right?
The silent issue.
But by and large, most of mine are probably good to fine at best.
Yeah.
I might even have some less thans in there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I don't care. To me, it's a complete run of that series because I wanted it and I have it, and that means something to me. If you've got something that you want, dude, if you don't care about that and you just want to have it, that's collecting, man.
That's collecting.
That's personal.
That's collecting for personal enjoyment.
Yeah. And the other
and
thing
that's
about
the best
it is,
kind of collecting too.
if you do have a key issue that you really want, like in my case, I got to be honest with you, I want an Amazing Spider-Man 129 in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
First appearance of the Punisher.
Yeah.
I want it badly. Want it for years. probably should have got one before now.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm at the point now where I still want one, but I don't necessarily care if it's a perfect 10 or not. I just want one.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to get a lesser just so I can say that I have one.
I had a shot at one of those once, and it was $300.
That's about the range that I was ready to strike at, and then it got away from me.
That book is, I think...
It's more now.
It's between $8,000 and $1,000, I think.
Oh, great.
For that book.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
If I can go back in time 5 years, I'd be buying up those Deadpool comics.
Well, obviously.
Anyway.
So, yeah. So...
Set a budget for yourself is what I'm saying.
Set a budget for yourself. When you want to inspect the comic, ask permission. Find a way of inspecting it that, finds the finer points that we've discussed here. So, lastly, let's talk about selling comics. The great heartbreaker of selling a comic that you thought you'd get huge payday for, and it's just you're not. So, when you think about selling comics, the first thing most people will think of is going to a comic shop and selling them there. And that's the easiest way to do it.
It is.
That's the easiest way to do it. But
you're not going to get full value, though.
Yeah, here's the thing that people never take into consideration. And people complain about this in different industries, but it's the cost of doing business. If you are going to a comic book shop, let's say you have a book that in the condition you have it, its actual value is $500. You've looked it up on eBay. It's averaging $500 what people are paying for this book. You're walking into a comic shop expecting to get $500 for this book. Here's the problem. If the comic book shop pays you $500 for that book, and then they turn around and put it on their shelf with a, say, $700 sticker on it, who's going to buy it?
Right. The shop has to make their money.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to take a hit.
The shop has to turn a profit on things they put out money on. The shop is investing in your product, essentially. So they have to turn a product on that investment. So you will get roughly, if a shop is feeling generous, or if it's like a valuable book that they really want to get, you'll get about, in a best case scenario, you'll get 75% of the value.
Yeah.
Common case scenario is you will get round about 50% of the value of the book.
Right.
And that's, I'm
no
sorry.
one likes to hear that, but
no
that's
one
the
likes
truth.
to hear it, but you know what? The shop's got to make money.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's like the sole thing that they're making money on. Now, that's the easiest way to sell a comic. The hardest way is to find someone who wants that book, who's willing to pay the actual value of it. That's when you turn and go to your eBays and things like that.
Right.
Or you try to take a stab at having a table at like a flea market or a convention or something like that. That's the harder way of doing it.
But that's the only way to ensure that you're going to get the most possible for it.
And then on top of that, you're still not going to get that actual value all the time because people are going to haggle.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast.
That's the nature of selling anything, man.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, for me, haggling's kind of part of the fun. If it's not a house or a car, I'll, willing to haggle over a price of a comic. So yeah, there's that. And then when you get, like, as we mentioned before, your gold stamp comics, your Action number 1s and Detective 27s, those get sold through like brokers and auction houses and just,
and those will probably be what we call slabbed, which means they are encased by the CGC, the comics grading, whatever they're called. Those books are not meant to be read. They are encased in a plastic coffin, and they are stamped with a grade so that they are now basically a viable commodity to be traded around.
Yeah.
Their authenticity is without question, and their condition has been documented, and it will be forever in that condition so long it is in the slab. Can't read it, but if you're buying something like that, that's really not why you are buying it.
Yeah. And if you're buying something like that, chances are you can read it digitally for dirt cheap.
Right.
Just do it that way.
Right.
Or get a reader copy of it. So I think we've pretty much kind of covered.
Yeah, I think that's a good basis
good
of collecting.
Crash course on collecting. What is the, in your opinion, was the most personally valuable comic book you have, and was monetarily the most valuable comic book you have?
Monetarily, it might be something like The Death of Elektra, or I haven't really kept up with New Mutants 87, the first appearance of Cable. I have that as well. It might be something like that. G.I. Joe 155 goes for a decent
Is that
amount.
the silent issue?
It's the final issue. The print runs were by the end so low,
Yeah.
and then the resurgence happened, and those were very hard to get. So I got one. Those are probably the most valuable comics I would say that I have. I could be wrong. I mean, Normally knows what I have up there. I have enough long boxes. Personally speaking, that's kind of weird. I don't. The personal books for me are stuff like Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. To me, that's personally my jam.
Yeah.
That G.I. Joe run, that's personal to me. That means the world to me. As weird as it is, like a personal connection I feel to comics, it's probably worthless, and they're not even like fondly remembered necessarily, and they're by no means like great. But like the original Savage Dragon miniseries from Image, it was a 3-issue miniseries before he got its ongoing. That's been going on to this day. I don't know. I loved those when I was a kid. I thought they were super awesome, and it was my favorite of the initial Image books. That was my favorite one, and probably, to be honest, the most well executed and coherent among the creators at the time. And I don't know, that it was my favorite thing when I was younger, and to this day, it's kind of like it just has this weird kind of place in my heart.
Yeah,
I can't explain to you why. It just does.
So for me, as far as monetary value goes, I believe Amazing Spider-Man 300 is my most valuable issue. The first appearance of Venom. I think that's hovering between 1,000 and 1,300 in good condition.
Let's see how that movie does.
Yeah, well, but I'm never going to sell it. So, as far as personal value goes, there's 3 that spring to mind immediately. First 2 are just like random issues of a random issue of Batman and a random issue of Web of Spider-Man, which were the first 2 comics I purchased the first time my father took me to a comic book shop.
Okay.
I had purchased comics before from like Spinnerax and 7-Eleven and whatnot, but the first time I went to a shop, my father took me, and those were the 2 comics I got that day, and I still have them.
That's cool.
The Web of Spider-Man one is bagged and filed away. The Batman one is bagged, but only because of the personal value. The cover's detached, and it's not. It's a comic that normally would not be bagged. And ironically enough, I've had opportunities to pick up that issue in better condition again, but I haven't because it's not the same.
Yeah.
And then the other one is probably the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man #1.
I've got that.
Because that was my first, #1. My first new comic. The first new series that I was part of from the beginning. So, yeah. So that's it.
Cool.
All right. Collecting comics, folks. It's fun.
It is fun.
I am not as much a collector anymore. I primarily just buy to read, and then the bulk of what I buy actually ends up, we use them as giveaways for events and things like that. But that's fine because, the stuff I really like, I keep, and the stuff that's, just kind of regular monthly reading for me, I just find a home for.
I keep everything. It's depressing.
Yeah, I got to that point where I was just like, it's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, now I collect vinyl too, and it's
yeah.
More stuff.
Yeah, you know what else takes up a lot of space? Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
everything in its place, Carl. Everything in its place.
All right, folks, that does it for this week. Felt good to be back. Sending off the Cobra Island Studios 2.5.
We're just going to call it 3.0 down there.
In grand fashion. Next week we'll be in Cobra Island 3.0. Well,
probably.
This is 2.5.
Ah, yes. This is kind of 2.5, yeah.
Next week we'll be in the new studio, a.k.a. Drew's basement, where all podcasts properly spend their lives in a basement somewhere.
Probably.
So if you want to send us any questions, any comments, anything, communicate with us, you can do so at the following locations. You can go to Twitter and follow us at Devils Do Pod. You can go to facebook.com/Devils Do Pod, like our page there. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, that being said, any closing thoughts?
Yes. Welcome to the world, Grant. And I really, really miss you, Lucas.
Yeah. Grant will be on the show one day.
Oh, yeah.
One day,
probably heard him crowd already.
One day we'll hand the mics over to him and William and just tell him, like, go.
It's your show now.
It's your show now. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Court is adjourned.